Welcome back. So in the previous session, we looked at what are data structures, and we looked into into a few more details. And one of the data structures that we introduced are arrays, and we saw how what an array is and how we can represent it. So in this session, we're going to go deeper into arrays and how we can represent them, and a few other operations that we're going to be looking at. So by the end of this video, we should be able to understand what an array is, and you should be able to do some basic operations like insertion, deletion, and how to access in an array. So the first thing we're going to look at is what is an array. So an array in itself is a data structure that holds a collection of elements, typically of the same type, and it holds them in a continuous, rather in a contiguous block of memory. And you can think of it like a list of items where each item has a specific position, and we refer to these positions as an index or indices in plural. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just represent, can represent an array. So I'm going to use this to represent our arrays. So I'm going to just represent a few of this. So think of this as an array, and this array has multiple elements. And the thing about all these elements is, of course, they are connected. So we have it can be an array of numbers. We have, let's say, one here as a number, and we're going to have two as well there. Let's have three, four, five, and 6. So this is think of this as an array, and it contains elements of the same type, basically, as we described. And these are the elements that it contains. So it contains integers from 1 to 6. And when you say that each item has a specific position, we talk of indexing in an array. So indexing in an array, basically indexing starts from 0. What you mean by that is the first element is going to be at index 0, followed by index 1, 2, 3, all the way. So if you have an array of size, let's say an array of size 10, that means that it is going to be from index 0 to index 9. So if you want to get the last element in that array, you're going to have to subtract the length of the array, or the size of the array, you subtract 1, since indexing starts from 0. So basically we have our indexing here starting from 0. Then we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Since we have 6 elements, so indexing starts from 0 all the way to 5. Yeah. So we can use these indices that we've written here to access the elements. So if you want to access an element of, let's say we want to access an element of the 3. If you want to access 3, all we need to do is count the index 0, 1, 2, 3. I mean 0, 1, 2. So 3 is at index 3 is at index 2. And the same happens for all the other elements. If you want to access the last element in an array, and we don't know, again, the array could be of any size. If you don't know the exact size of the array, that means you can't count elements manually. What you'll do is you'll take the length of that array. So you'll take the length of that array, and you're going to subtract 1, since indexing starts from 0. And if you do this, you're going to get the index of the last element in the array. Now, a few key features that you would have already noticed from what you've talked about here. The key features of arrays is they have a fixed size. So that means that an array is going to have a predefined size. Yeah. And it's going the number of you need to know the number of elements you're going to represent beforehand. Then you can write your array. The other thing is about indexing. And each element is going to have a specific index, which allows for constant time access. Now, later on, we're going to be looking at how you can check the complexity of an algorithm and operations efficiency. Basically, we're going to be looking at all of these complexities. But basically, accessing elements in an array are going to have constant time access, which is O of one. We're going to be looking at all this when you get into big O notation and the likes. Yeah. So that is basically it. And another thing to note about arrays as well here is if you have two arrays, so let's say we have this array here, and let's say we have another array that has some other elements here. If we want to maybe merge these two arrays into one, since like we mentioned, each array is going to have they have a predefined size. That means that if you want to create a new array that combines these two, it's going to have to be a different array. So there's no way you can go into this array and start adding and expanding on the array. If at any point you're doing an operation that is going to add an element at the end of the array or the beginning of the array or somewhere, that operation means that you're going to be creating a different array that is going to contain the new size of the array that you've defined. So if the size was 10 and you want to add an element for the array to be of size 11, that means you're going to create a different array that is going to be of size 11, and all the other elements are going to be stored in there. Now, that is enough about basically arrays and how they look like. Now, some basic operations that we can carry out on arrays. The first thing is on accessing an element. And you've seen, to access an element, it is basically simple because there's indexing in these arrays, and it also follows constant time. So I'm going to switch to our Visual Studio Code, and we're going to just define a simple array here. We'll call this array my array, and we're going to give it some values like that. So this is our simple array. If you want to access an element in an array, so we're going to just print it out. I'm using Python here, but again, you can apply any programming language that you are well suitable with. So to access, you're going to just say the name of the array, and you're going to pass in the index of that array inside of the square bracket. So if you want to access the element in that array, the element at index 3, I'll just specify the index like that. Yeah, and if we count here, index 3 is 0, 1, 2, 3. So that means 4 is going to be the element that we expect in our output. Now we'll just quickly run our code. Just say Python 3 arrays. So I haven't saved here. We just need to save and run it again. See, we're getting the output, which is 4. And that is basically if you want to access elements in an array. Again, this follows constant, the text constant time rather, which is O of 1. Then the other thing is on if you want to insert elements in an array. To insert elements, there's a simple operation that you can use. And to show that, what we're going to do here, I'm going to first of all print this initial array, and we're going to go ahead and my array.append. This is when you want to insert elements in an array. Now this .append method inserts element at the end of the array. So if we add, let's say 34, and we're going to print the new array now. If we run the code, you see we're getting a new array, but that now has 34 at the end. Yeah, that is when you want to add elements at the end. You can also add an element at the middle. So I'll just, maybe we can have a comment here, and we're going to just say insert at the end. Yeah, if you want to insert an element at the beginning or the middle, we use a method known as insert. So I'll just do that, and we'll just change this to insert. So what insert is going to do, you can use this to insert at the beginning or at the end. So just say at the beginning, or not at the end rather, but at the beginning or at the middle. So we're going to just say insert, but now you're going to specify the index. So say 0, and we want to insert 4. And if we print the new array again here, let's clear this and run. You see now it has added 4 at the beginning. Now, when you use the insert method, the first argument it's going to take is the index where you want to insert your element, and that element you want to insert is going to be the second argument. If we change this to, let's say, index 3, and we run our code again, you see now it has added 4 at index 3. Now we have 2 4s in our array. And the other operation, quickly, another operation that you can carry out is deleting elements in an array. So deleting elements can also happen in different ways. The first way that it can happen is you want to delete an element from the end. So deleting an element from the end is almost similar to the way we were inserting elements. But how you can do that is, of course, we need to first of all refer to our array. So we'll just say my array dot pop. So pop is going to remove elements from the last element in the array. So if we run the code again, you see now 34 is gone. We had 34 earlier, now it's not there. The other thing you can do is you can also delete an elements from the beginning or from the middle. And how you can do that, so this one is deleting at the end, or deleting from should be the right word to use. And the other one, if you want to delete, you just use the del method. You just say del, the name of the array, in this case my array, and you're going to specify an index. So if you want to say index, it's index 4. Yeah, this would be index 3 rather, because we have 2 4, so we try to remove 1. So if we run the code again, you see now we have one single 4, the other one has already been removed. Yeah. So what this does is this one deletes an element from the beginning or middle. That's basically what it does. Now, these are the basic operations that you can carry out on an array. Again, we've looked at this in the context of Python, but the operation also do apply because you're using other programming languages. Just the syntax is going to change a little bit. That's basically it about arrays. And just a few takeaways that we've noted from here is that arrays are one of the most basic data structures, of course, and they allow us to store multiple items and we can access them via index, and we've seen how we can do that. Also, just on a light note on how, which we didn't go into much detail on that, but when you're accessing elements in an array, it follows constant time, and we're going to be looking at that as we proceed. Also, arrays can be used in a variety of algorithms. Yeah. So when you'll be looking at more details into algorithms after we're done with data structures, we're going to see how we can use arrays and other data structures like stacks and queues. We're going to be looking into more details on that. Now, you can go ahead and just give yourself an exercise. Or you can maybe just write a simple program that is going to insert a new element at the beginning of an array, or delete the first element of an array, shift and do a few more operations. You can also just try to do some of these operations that we have done here. So this is what we've looked at arrays. Just a simple thing about how they can be handled. We're going to go ahead and look at more other data structures as we proceed. Thank you for tuning up at this time. I'll see you on the next one.